All right, Shalom. I want to begin by giving all glory and praises to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Racha Kodash. Double honors to our beloved elders and apostles of Great Millstone. Shalom to the hopefully elect, and shalom to all the Akim pushing this truth with sincerity. It's the brother Itazawan from the GMS Columbus, Ohio branch, coming back again with another video through the Spirit. Lord willing, it is edifying. And pretty much through the Spirit, I just wanted to tap into, the 250th year birthday, if you will, of America, okay, which we know biblically as Babylon the Great, all right, or the whore, that the scriptures speak about, all right, and through the Spirit, our beloved apostle Tahar, brought this information out a while back, all right, and here it is, here we are, in the 250th year in the kingdom, and pretty much of, us in the kingdom of, America's kingdom. Through the Spirit, the apostle, brought this information out, okay, concerning, the average length of a kingdom, all right, and we know real quick, let's get Psalms 49 and 11 real quick. It says, their inward thought is that their houses shall continue forever, and their dwelling places to all generations. They call their lands after their own names, right? Okay, and this is what, the average American, and not only that, the elites, etc., who govern and run this country or this system here, all right, believe. They believe that their kingdom, all right, or their houses will continue forever, okay? But we know biblically that that is false, okay? Because ultimately the Lord, like the scriptures read, let's get to it, in Daniel's, is it the 4th chapter? Daniel's 4. Is it 4? I haven't written this out in a while. It's 4 and... Let me just type it in. Daniel 4:17. Yeah, there we go. This is the book of Daniel, chapter 4 and 17. It says, this matter is by the decree of the watchers, and the demand by the word of the holy ones, to the intent that the living may know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomsoever he will, and setteth up over it the basis of men, right? Okay, so the Lord rules over the kingdoms, all right, that have been in the planet Earth, all right, from the beginning. Okay, the Lord is the one who sets up the rulers, all right, and gives them the authority, all right, to govern, or be the known power of the planet. Okay, and in today's day and age, we have Esau, Edom, all right, at the forefront, okay, of the kingdoms and nations on the planet Earth today, all right. But again, this is, just good information, all right, which ultimately links to prophecy. And, if you look at, the date of America's birthday and what's going on in the planet Earth, it lines up perfectly. Okay, because at this point, America is in a worse condition that it has ever been in. Okay, and it's evident, and through the Spirit, Lord willing, just gonna read some of this information. All right, bring out some precepts and call it that. But again, these things line up with prophecy, and Lord willing, Abaratazah, these things are to be true. Okay, and that we are at the end of this kingdom, which we know we are. The signs are there. The things that were prescribed in the scriptures are showing, all right, and manifesting in the physical. So we know we are at the end, all right. But Abaratazah comes hastily, all right, if that's a word, or quickly. Okay. So real quick, just typed in average length of a kingdom into Google, AI overview reads, historically, kingdoms and empires vary widely in lifespan, though many scholars and historians observe a rough historical average of 250 to 300 years. The duration of a kingdom depends heavily on economic stability, military superiority, and its ability to adapt to political and social changes, right? Two things that are failing here in America, all right? Heavily on economic stability. And as you can see, we're in shrinkflation, all right, where we have shrinkflation, inflation, all these things still going on, from, let me see something. How long has war with Iran been? Let me just type this in real quick. It was about 6 months, 4 months. Okay. The current 22 has been active for just over 4 months, having officially started. Okay, Con. Yep. Started in February. Yep. Okay, Con. Right. And again, these things are still taking a hit. All right. A lot of, economic, instability is happening here in Babylon the Great, still in debt, so on and so forth. Like I said, military superiority, although they are the hammer of the earth, so to speak, their military might is failing as well. All right. A lot of people aren't enlisting. All right. The average man is weak. Okay. Etc. All right. So again, these things indicate that we are at the end of this man's kingdom. We are at the end of an age. Okay. Concerning the biblical timeline. All right. And we are on our way to the next phase real quick. Let's get 2nd Esdras 6. And let's start at verses 9. 2nd Esdras 6 and 9, it says, for Esau is the end of the world, or an age, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth, right? And that's what we're seeing. This man has reached his duration. Okay? Now, again, does it mean the end will be exactly at 250 years? No. All right? We don't know exactly when, but again, when you line up this date, all right, and you line up what's going on in prophecy, man, it links up perfectly. All right, so Abaratazah, we could be out of here soon, very, very soon, man. All right? He's on. But, let me see, let's go to bullet point 2. It reads an average 200 to 300 years. Many major dynasties follow the 250-year pattern, such as the Persian Achaemenid Empire, 220 years, or China's Tang Dynasty, 289 years. Long-lived 500-plus kingdoms with immense structural, continual, and geographical isolation, like the Ottoman Empire, 623 years, or Imperial China spanning over 1,000 years in various iterations, endured far longer. Okay, Con. Yep, but, that's pretty much it. But, again, ultimately, these things line up perfectly with prophecy. Real quick, let's get Job. It's like here, 14 and 5. It says, seeing his days are determined, the number of his months are with thee. Thou hast appointed his bounds that he cannot pass, right? So ultimately, again, like we read in Psalms, the 49th chapter and 11th verse. All right. Dang, messed nothing up. All right. His inward thought is that his house shall continue forever. All right. No matter, what Esau, may try to do to upset prophecy, so on and so forth, the Lord has bounds that this man cannot pass. Okay. Like it says, seeing his days are determined, the number of his months are with thee. Thou hast appointed his bounds that he cannot pass, right? The Lord is in control of all these things. The Lord sets up these kingdoms, all right? Sets up nations, puts them down, so on and so forth. Real quick, let's jump over to Job 12 and 23. It reads, he increaseth the nations and destroyeth them. He enlargeth the nations and straighteneth them again, right? You see, so again, America, Babylon the Great, which ultimately is the kingdom where the Edomites, all right, have reigned supreme, okay? while they, live out their blessings, so on and so forth, which they are currently in. All right. They have been increased, all right, enlarged. You see, and now ultimately the Heavenly Father is about to destroy this nation, all right, or straighten this nation. Okay. Again, he has bounds that he cannot pass. All right. And, like we read prophetically in 2nd Ezra 6th chapter, we understand that Esau is the end of the world. All right. And Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. Going to show you or indicate that ultimately the Edomites will be the last rulership prior to Yahushua coming. All right. So when you read scriptures like Babylon the Great, so on and so forth, who and what does that indicate? All right. That this, kingdom that is spoken about that's going to be destroyed links up to who? The Edomites. Okay. You got to put the pieces together to get the full understanding. Real quick, let's read Revelation 18 at the top. And after these things, I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, the hold of every foul spirit, and the cage of every unclean and hateful bird. Now, ultimately, this is dealing with, the thermonuclear destruction when this place is completely obliterated. All right, but, we're seeing, the beginning stages, all right, of this place falling. Okay, again, the economics are destroyed. The military might has diminished. And this place is just getting weaker and weaker by the day. All right, let's get one more precept in Jeremiah, the 18th chapter, and 7. It reads, At what instant I shall speak concerning a nation and concerning a kingdom to pluck up and to pull down and to destroy it. Right? At what instant I shall speak concerning a nation and concerning a kingdom to pluck up and to destroy and to pull down and to destroy it. Right? Again, just reiterating the point that the Heavenly Father rules over these kingdoms. Okay? He's the one who has set these kingdoms up, and he's the one who will destroy these kingdoms, because ultimately the will of the Heavenly Father is that his kingdom, all right, which is going to be ran and governed by Yahushua, will reign supreme for all eternity. Righteousness, all right, how he wants things, or, wants existence to be, like the scriptures read. He shall be an image of his own eternity. Okay, the Heavenly Father, all right, will reign supreme, and everyone will know, all right, that ultimately he is the omnipotent, he is the omnipresence that rules over existence. Okay, real quick, it was another precept I was thinking about, or just another point I wanted to make, because ultimately when you deal with Daniel, the 7th chapter, which Lord willing I could probably do a follow-up on that, going into Daniel 7, you have 4 major kingdoms that will reign on the earth. Okay, and out of that 4th kingdom, which we know is Rome, came what? Real quick, this is Daniel 7 and 8. It says, I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn, before whom were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots. Right, concerning the French, Spanish, all right, and in Britain. Okay, and like I said, I considered the horns. Behold, there came up among them another little horn, which that little horn is concerning America, Babylon the Great, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots. Sorry, dealing with the Revolutionary Wars at the French, Spanish, or Spain, all right, and Britain, or the Brits. And what came out of those 3, America, Babylon the Great. Okay, the last, out of the 3, which those 3 were plucked up. Okay, and again, America, was birthed, out of that whole turmoil, Salakia, etc. When you deal with that history. And this horn were eyes like the eyes of a man, and a mouth speaking great things. Right, and that's what this kingdom has done. spoken great things, okay, and done, lots of, miraculous things, so to speak, in a carnal stance, the wave of technology, so on and so forth, okay, boastful, so on and so forth, man. All right. So we call it that through the spirit, late night, just getting off the plantation. So I don't want to make it too long through the spirit, but just want to tackle that through the spirit. Been hearing a lot concerning this 250-year birthday of America. All right. And especially, dealing with, commercials and shit. All right. Well, I guess it's some movie out called Young Washington or something like that. That was made to commemorate, all right, the birth date of this place, which I believe was 1776, when America was birthed. Let me fact check myself. 1776 is the most significant year in American history, marking the formal birth of the United States of America on July 4th, 1776. The Second Continual Congress anonymously adopted the United States Declaration of Independence, serving the 13 colonies' political ties with Great Britain. All right, let's read some of this. Major historical events of 1776. January 10, Thomas Paine publishes Common Sense, a highly influential pamphlet that turns public opinion sharply toward demanding full independence from British rule. Right, because you had all that going on with the taxation from British, or the Brits. All right, so on and so forth. March 17, British forces evacuate Boston following a successful siege by George Washington's newly formed Continental Army. July 2nd, the Continental Congress votes in favor of Virginia Delegate Richard Henry Lee's resolution to declare independence. Right, that's why it's July 4th, Independence Day. All right, because they were freed from the quote unquote bondage or whatever, taxation from Britain. The American Patriots, August 27th, the American Patriots suffer a severe defeat at the Battle of Long Island, allowing British forces to capture and occupy New York City. General George Washington leads a desperate, stealthy night crossing of the icy Delaware River. The Continental Army executes a surprise attack on Hessian forces at the Battle of Trenton, scoring a vital victory that salvages American military morale, right? And this is all, beautiful, because this just goes to show you the inner turmoil that Esau Edom has had for, generations, like the scriptures read. Satan, misquoting. All right, if Satan be divided against Satan, all right, his kingdom shall not stand. All right. There we go, Revolutionary War. And again, it's all good history to go into. What the hell? Anyways, the Revolutionary War, so on and so forth. Okay? But hey, all that bright history, so to speak, concerning Babylon, the Greater America, and his birthday. All right? We'll burn with it in due time. So that's it. Give all glory and praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Akakudah, Shalom.